I'm Dale Smith for Looney Politics, and this is your week one recap of the election campaign. It was a fairly middling week, and the parties were all focused on things like tax cuts, which is really kind of the wrong signal to be sending in this moment of fairly existential crisis for our country, particularly when the government is probably going to need those kinds of revenue sources for things like recapitalizing the military, which we're likely going to have to do in very short order. For the Liberals, Mark Carney only got a few of his messages out this week before Donald Trump dropped the auto tariff bomb on his lap, and he was forced to play prime minister for most of the week, which meant meetings with his cabinet committee on Canada-US relations, with first ministers, having his first call with Donald Trump. And along the way, he dropped a particularly big bombshell around how the relationship with the United States, as we have come to know it in terms of economic integration and defense cooperation and so on, is now over, and that we need to essentially transition as a country to this new reality. And that's going to be a lot harder than a lot of people think, but this is kind of the moment that we're in. The other two parties could have picked up this particular issue and run with it, but they really didn't. The Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre largely stuck to their prearranged scripts for most of the week, with their announcements on various tax measures and so on, and have really found themselves unable to pivot for the moment, and even pivot locations when things happen, such as when the tariff announcement came down, because they don't have any reporters on their plane, and so they can't take them with them. They can't change the plans that they've made, where reporters need to know 2 or 3 days in advance of where to be, that sort of thing. And as well, the most that Poilievre has managed to say to give a message to Trump has been to knock it off, which sounds like what you would say to kids squabbling in the back seat rather than your major trade partner stabbing you in the chest. So that's that inability to pivot has also drawn the knives out within the party, and we are hearing a lot of stories of internal discord, particularly because people within the Conservative Party are now concerned that the wheels are off the campaign, that things are completely going the wrong direction. And so we're hearing a lot of internal discord, and that could prove very interesting in the next few weeks. As for the NDP, well, they really haven't had a whole lot to add to the conversation. They have largely stuck to promises that they've been making for a while, essentially having a box of solutions that have been looking for problems. In this case, trying to reformulate their inflation spike solutions for potential tariffs or counter tariffs, and it all comes off looking a little bit weak. And particularly when some of their issues, like housing, again, they are proposing things that are within provincial jurisdiction and not federal. The other issue with the NDP campaign is that they've been on the defensive, largely trying to stick to ridings that they hold already, or regions where they already have some particular strength. And there have been complaints that they've spent more time on the bus than they have off, in part because they have chosen to campaign on the bus rather than flying anywhere, which, I mean, probably better for the environment, but less so for a campaign where you need to be nimble and where you need to be out doing events rather than just going from point A to point B on a bus, as they have been doing. We'll see what week 2 brings us, but so far it's been a middling start to this campaign, and the polls, however, have been changing. So we'll see how that continues to shake up over the next week. For Looney Politics, I'm Dale Smith.